So the first time I came to the Dock Museum, only part of it was open to the public. So I'll come back today to show you the rest. And we're looking here at the old graving dock, which is where boats would come in and repaired. Water would be drained out. So basically it's a dry dock. This floor is local artists' paintings, and they're all for sale. So if you want to come down and have a look at them and buy some. And they were the days when we had the big cranes on the dockside. It's another view of the other side of the graving dock. So go back up to the first floor. That's the building, the Devonshire Dock Hall.
However, family grounds are a 120-word message that a loved one can send to you once a week. If they contain bad news, that means we're not allowed. Any another walk of life, all forms of communication.
And maybe too much reflection on the glass to see this.
This is a serious instance where they spend free time together. Remember, we're deep underwater and you can't watch TV or music. So what do? Well, you could watch pre-downloaded films, play cards, play video games, or play board games, like others. That's very possible. It's a grown-up universe where cheating is possible. Oi, don't take my shit to you lot. I don't get the wrong idea. We have a very serious job to do. There's a reason we call this silent service. We operate unseen, unheard, and undetected. And sometimes we just have to be quiet.
Welcome on board. I'm Jim Perks, Commodore Jim Perks. I had a 38-year naval career climbing the ranks from junior rating to head of the submarine service. But I'm always asked, what's life like cooped up in a submarine at the depths of the world's oceans for months on end with no contact with the outside world? Well, it's certainly very different to living on dry land. Here in the control room is where I spent much of my time as a submarine captain. It's the nerve center of the submarine. It is from here that we control, navigate, and fight the boat. There's no driver's window to see where we're going, no sat-nav or GPS underwater. Sonar is our eyes and ears, effectively an underwater microphone that lets us listen for noise in the world's oceans. Okay, it's time to play Wave Hunters. So listen to these sounds and guess what they are. First sound, please. That is a large merchant vessel. Next sound. That was a speedboat. What about this one? That's a whale. Now here's a tricky one. That is a warship. A trained sonar operator can identify vessels and marine life just by hearing these sounds. But what about this? Not a sound. That is the sound of a submarine, never to be found, silent at all times. There are times we need to come close to the surface to communicate with home or physically look at something out there. Blimey. We call this periscope depth. In the submarines I served in, we used traditional periscopes, like those you might have seen in many films. But to allow us to use the periscope when looking at night, we had to use red lighting in the submarine to acclimatize our eyes to maintaining our night vision. We've also got white light and black light, and that just means we turn all the lights off. Most of the crew work in 2 watches, 6 hours on and 6 hours off, every day, every week, every month. You're either in first watch, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. to 1 a.m., or second watch, 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. and 1 a.m. to 7 a.m. That adds up to an 84-hour working week. It's a shame we didn't get paid by the hour. In your 6 hours off, you need to eat, sleep, socialise, maybe watch a movie, and sometimes we even had a wash. So it doesn't leave much time for sleep. Well, it's certainly cramped in the Junior 8's bunk space. Each bunk is roughly 6 feet 2 inches long, 2 feet across, and only 20 inches high. It's a tight squeeze. And with up to 130 people at sea, there are never enough bunks. So some of us are required to hot bunk or just swap over. Can you imagine the noise or the smell in here? It's not for everyone. Anyone peckish? Food is a hugely important part of submarine life. Not only for morale, but it also acts as our calendar. How? Because we have the same meals at the same time on the same day of the week, every week. You know it's morning, for example, when you get the most beautiful smell of baking bread wafting through the whole boat. As with all things in the Navy, it is tradition to refer to certain items in our unique vocabulary, Jack speak. This bread roll, for example, is called a fat cup. For the 0100 meal, a fairly standard offering would be summer soup. Some of this, some of that. How about snorkers? Well, they are sausages. Sea dust. Salt. What about slide? Margarine. Nellie's wellies? Spam fritters. What about cow juice? That's milk. Bits. Come on, that's an easy one. Beans in tomato sauce. Exactly what it says on the tin. The chefs do a brilliant job, feeding the whole crew 4 meals a day in a tiny galley. Over 3 months, that's around 47,000 meals. Just loading the food and finding somewhere to store it on board with such limited space is a task in itself, as is storing it in the right order. So, do you want to know my secret for keeping a crew in good spirits? An ice cream. Morale on a stick, as I used to say. We only had the freezer space to store 3 or 4 full shots for the whole crew, so I had to choose the right time to deploy them. Oh, you might also like the Nutty Bucket, a blue bucket filled with chocolate bars. The bucket goes around the boat, and you take what you like. It's a real taste of home. Another piece of morale is news from back home. The submariner's ability to communicate with family is non-existent. However, familygrams are a 120-word message that a loved one can send to you once a week. If they contain bad news, the captain will not allow that to be delivered. Name me another walk of life where all forms of communication are removed from you. This is the senior eights mess, where they spend what free time they have. Remember, we're deep underwater and you can't get live TV or the internet. So what do? Well, you could watch pre-downloaded films, play cards, play video games, or play board games, like Uckers. That's very popular. It's a grown-up Ludo where cheating is positively encouraged. Oi, no timber shifting, you lot. But don't get the wrong idea. We have a very serious job to do. There's a reason we're called the Silent Service. We operate unseen, unheard, and undetected. And sometimes we just have to be quiet. And I mean really quiet. So that could mean no showers for weeks. Just the sound of making fresh water might give our position away, and therefore we have to save water. But you know what? Everyone's in the same boat, pardon the pun. So that means everyone smells bad, but you soon get used to it. Oh, you! No Hollywoods and submarines. That's long showers to you lot. You must wonder how we have enough fresh air and water down there. Well, we use a process called electrolysis, where we use electricity to extract oxygen from seawater and at the same time distill the seawater to provide us fresh water. Clever, eh? Although we can survive down in the depths, a submarine is a dangerous place. The biggest dangers, apart from being targeted by an enemy, are fire and flood. The one thing I can say is I have never doubted the quality...
Fire in the galley. Emergency stations, fire in the galley.
Ah, okay. Thanks for letting me know. It's all fine, don't worry. That was just the chef telling me that he'd burnt some toast. Okay. The one thing I can say is that I have never doubted the quality of the submarines that I have served in, built right here in Barrow. So after hearing all of that, you will probably want to know why we put ourselves through all of that. You formed the very closest friendships, bonded by our dolphins. I have travelled the world and visited the most distant and remote places on our planet, some of which I've never been able to tell anyone about. And you certainly need a sense of humour to stop you from going mad when you're cooped up in a tin can for months on end. But if I had my time again, I would join the submarine service like a shot. The best job in the world. Right, where's that nutty bucket?
Let's have a look at some of these models. They used to be in the museum above the library at Ransom Square years ago. So this is HMS Fearless, 1886. Then we've got the Oriana. Built for the P&O line. These are the uniforms from the Oriana.
A cracker. My one's dirty cat over the one leg and Beyonce.
Is it a snack?
Is it like some other
Lost on you. You know when you call a girl a snack, that was like a compliment. Oh, you're a snack. I love there we go. Oh,
Ryan.
We will leave one on to you so I can take a picture. But there, wait, let me just get one of these. Control that.
Oh, look at you now, he's just he's layering the look here.
Did you know a champagne bottle is swung against the side of a ship when it is launched? That's to give it a good look. Yeah. Oh, there's lots of rubbish in docks.
I'm terribly out of touch.
Yeah. Snack. Because I want to be. You look like a snack. Tasty. Tasty. Yeah, that's just like a snack. Just tasty.
This is the HMS Erin. This is what launched in 1914. HMS Vengeance. And of course, it's not only submarines and service vessels, but they also built Sulzer engines for British Rail. And these airships. And this vessel was built for the Japanese Navy in 1912, called the Congo. And these are some of the crew. They also built howitzers. And here's the clock machine. Put your card in there and then stamp it. Prove that you're actually in work. So he wasn't happy with submarines.